Italy has a long and proud farming history. The country is famous throughout the world for the food it produces. There are more than 1 million farms in the country, but that number is dropping rapidly. 2/3 of all farms have closed since the 1980s. And in the face of widespread protests, the European Union says it's helping farmers by trying to increase earnings and attempting to mitigate the impact of climate change. But as John Bevir reports, many in Italy disagree and claim that without urgent intervention, the historic industry faces ruin.
Farmers here in Italy share similar grievances to those elsewhere in Europe. As the cost of fuel has gone up, what many are paid for their produce has gone down. Tax rises and some EU green policies are also unpopular. But unlike some of their neighbours, many of the protests here are smaller, spontaneous, local and not controlled by a central organisation. Here on the outskirts of Rome, the Coraggio Agricultural Cooperative took over some abandoned land. 9 years of hard work has transformed the site. They're improving the farm and also the local community, creating jobs and boosting knowledge of sustainable farming practices. But for Giacomo Lepri, he thinks a radical overhaul of the whole Italian agricultural system is needed.
Al momento quello che è l'agricoltore è un imprenditore come tutti gli altri, quindi in qualche modo deve correre dietro al mercato per piazzare il proprio prodotto, ma noi non stiamo vendendo un bene di lusso, stiamo vendendo appunto un bene necessario. Quindi in teoria bisognerebbe sottrarre grossa parte del settore agricolo dalle logiche di mercato.
The government are unlikely to take such bold measures, but they are working hard to be seen as pro-farming. But cheaper produce from war-torn Ukraine flooding the market is a wider European problem, as the European Commission have committed to help the country by waiving duties for all Ukrainian food imports. The Italian Parliament has now passed a law recognising farmers as guardians of the environment and the territory, but many of those protesting say that doesn't go far enough. Italy has some of the most famous produce in the world, from the wheat that's used to make pasta flour to the olives used to make the iconic oil and everything else that makes this country a global culinary powerhouse. Food is intertwined with the Italian national identity, and many farmers argue that what they're fighting for is not just their own livelihoods, but the very culture and traditions of Italy itself. Many blame the policies coming from the EU. In Brussels, politicians have been trying to make themselves heard over the low rumble of protesting tractor engines. Environmental measures within the so-called Green Deal, designed to try and fight climate change, are seen as detrimental by a large number of farmers. Short-term pain for a long-term gain is the argument. Not acceptable is the reply of many. But EU officials are staying upbeat, publicly at least, and have launched a strategic dialogue on agriculture. Midway between Rome and Naples, this farm is as environmentally friendly as possible. Natural fertilisers, almost no machinery, and sticking to biodynamic methods has come with its own challenges. But for the farmer Danilo Scena, that's nothing compared to the man-made problems he faces.
Io ho iniziato questo lavoro soltanto 12 anni fa. In agricoltura 12 anni è un frammento di secondo, è veramente un tempo molto breve, e in 12 anni ho visto veramente quelli che sono gli effetti del cambiamento climatico. Ogni stagione è diversa dall'altra e dobbiamo cercare di trovare delle nuove strategie per contrastare appunto gli effetti del cambiamento climatico.
But many larger farmers here disagree with Danilo. Italy has an incredibly diverse agricultural landscape, so the solution for one might not be the solution for another. There is no neat list of demands that all farmers agree on. And some argue that with so many challenges facing the industry, now is not the time for often expensive green solutions. But the fear is that an already difficult situation with no easy fix is being made worse by the impacts of climate change. John Bevir, CNA, Rome.